You're listening to the Liftpoint, the official podcast of Crane Hub Global. Lifting the industry by elevating its people. Hosts Clint and Megan Wood raise the boom on the latest in cranes, heavy lift, and specialized transport, from record-breaking jobs to game-changing tech. Strap in, lift up, and let's reach new heights.
Welcome back to the Liftpoint Podcast from Crane Hub Global, where we spotlight the people and ideas lifting our industry higher. I'm Clint Wood.
And I'm Megan Wood. Together, we dig into the stories, innovations, and leadership shaping cranes, heavy lift, and specialized transport around the globe. And today, we're really excited because we're talking workforce training and the future of safety with someone who lives and breathes it every day. Please welcome Ross Moloney, CEO of LEEA, the Lifting Equipment Engineers Association. Ross, thank you so much for joining us. And if you wouldn't mind, please tell us a little bit about your background.
Yeah, look, it's a pleasure to be with you. Thank you for the invitation. Just by way of introducing myself, I'm the Chief Officer of the Lifting Equipment Engineers Association, and I'll talk about LEEA a bit later on. But just to give the prism to look through in relation to who I am and how I've ended up in this incredible industry that probably loads of us had never even thought about until we came to work in it. My background was that I was a pretty average academic. My doctorate was in economic policy, and I started getting into the benefits both to individuals, but also to generations, but also to society and also to the economy of adult skills, of people retraining and doing the sort of skills and the sort of qualifications that actually made a difference to their work. So that's how I ended up getting into the relationship between skills and productivity and work, and how we as countries in the West were actually going to sit in the global world, and how we were going to compete with each other, and how we were going to be friends with each other and compete with the right people. And then I went to work for UK government, where I ran a couple of agencies there that were around upskilling, basically. And I was particularly worked in the logistics sector. And in the logistics sector is an interesting one for those of us who live on this rock in the North Atlantic, because everything comes in through a port, basically, or leaves through a port. And so that was an interesting time. And then did a couple other things all around development and skills and actually making a difference. And then I had a great conversation that led to me joining LEEA 8 years ago. And really that was a bit of a life changer for me, because LEEA was exactly the sort of opportunity that let me do the sorts of things that I'm passionate about. That means that coming to work is not actually as hard as it should be, because LEEA is a trade association by name, but a visionary organization by nature. We have this vision to make our industry safer. And so we do all of the sorts of things that you'd imagine a trade association does. So we have events and we run our exhibition and we have the greatest golf day in the world. But, and why I guess I'm talking to you guys is absolutely fundamental to us, is that we believe that you make the world safer if you get people to know more and to do better on a daily basis. And that is when accidents, injuries, and fatalities happen, when people forget or get too tired or choose not to put into practice the learning that they've taken on in the classroom.
Well, we're definitely glad to have you here. And a lot of folks in the lifting world know the LEEA name, but maybe not the full scope of what you actually do. Can you give us the big picture of kind of the mission?
Yeah, definitely. So you're right. So I think in terms of who's heard of LEEA, so in the UK, our brand's really well known. We're active in about 80 countries and we have 1,300 corporate members. We train about 5,000 students a year. And our business is in three parts that feeds this organizational vision of eliminating accident, injury, and fatality. And we operate as a not-for-profit. So we try to do everything that we possibly can by reinvesting whatever revenue comes into us so that our members are prioritized and are supported. But we also go out and make the general case. You might have seen Global Lifting Awareness Day and others. We go out and we really wave the flag and let people know that it's important to prioritize safety, because if it's not a priority, it's the sort of thing you do at the end of the day when you've not got any money left. And so you're not doing it properly. So LEEA effectively has three parts of its business to try and reach that output, that outcome, which is to make people safer. Firstly, to become a LEEA member, you have to go through a membership audit. And that audit is deliberately focused on technical questions. So we know that companies in our space go through loads and loads of audits. People that are listening to this will probably have a minimum of 3 or 4 accreditations from external audits. And that will ask them things, and I'm being a little bit flippant, but that'll be things like, are you a nice person? It doesn't quite get down to, are you kind to your dog? But it's not a million miles away from that sometimes. And that's not the LEEA audit. The LEEA audit is focused on your technical competence, your technical expertise, your technical processes within our bit of the industry. So we find out your scope of work, as we call it, and then we drill down into that, asking specific questions. And the purpose of that, and if you pass that, then you get the LEEA logo. The purpose of that is not to embarrass anyone, not to call anyone out. We see ourselves as the doctors or the nurses rather than as the policemen. We're not here to punish. We're not here to embarrass, but we're here to identify where progress can be made. And the people that do our assessments, they're all employed by LEEA, are from the industry. One of the guys that does the assessment, I was speaking to him once and I was saying, when you go and speak to these companies and you're there to provide them with support and advice, why do they listen to you? Why don't they just say, yeah, all right, you're just another assessor. Tomorrow you'll be assessing a hairdresser. And he said, well, Ross, for 20 years, I was responsible for putting the nuclear warheads on submarines and I never dropped one. And I kind of thought, yeah, that's a really good story. That means that you get credibility straight away. And everybody else that does our assessments from the industry, either using lifting equipment or manufacturing lifting equipment. So we have this audit that means that people can trust the LEEA logo, but it's not just a market signal. It's a means by which we actually engage with our members, and we engage with them in this helpful, supportive way. Following on from that, we have our technical and compliance side, which means that, and I have to think about who are our members. We provide technical and compliance support to our members wherever they are in the world. Lots of our members are smaller firms who maybe don't have their own technical departments. And so we deliberately engage with our 1,300 members to find out what best practice looks like. It gives us an opportunity to lobby when it comes to legislation and standards and regulation. And whilst we do that, our main focus of our technical side is actually to provide support to our members to make sure that they know what they should be doing and to support them as they try and bring it into action. And so if we start off with the audit, and then when you come through the gateway, we give you ongoing technical support. The third part of our organization is our learning and development arm, because it's really easy to send out a document, but we all know, and we'll all, again, everybody on this call will be thinking of their email inbox right now and all of the emails that they've not read, all the attachments that they've not opened. So we take it upon ourselves to own how do we transfer the knowledge that we have into changed action for our members and their employees. And so we deliver training courses that are recognized throughout the world, particularly in terms of inspection, although we're getting more and more into the use of lifting equipment, but as well as formal courses. If you were to visit the LEEA website, you'll find that we post videos, we post loads of documents that are easy to access. And so we see ourselves as helpers who are going to nudge you towards being safer. And that's absolutely where we position ourselves. If our vision is a world that's safer, how does LEEA get there? Well, we believe that we are a knowledge management business, that we take in knowledge from our members and we share it and disseminate it in as accessible a way as possible to as many people as we can across the.
So Ross, let's start with training. It's one of the things that LEEA is obviously most recognized for. You've got specialists delivering programs worldwide, online learning, and also your training center in Huntington. So what makes your approach stand out versus other industry trade organizations?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I don't want to speak for other associations because everybody thinks that their training is really good, right? It's just like everybody thinks their kid's the prettiest kid, right? So what underpins all of the training we do is that we have 1,300 members globally with whom we engage. It's really easy to go out and read a textbook or to read legislation and standards and regulation. And of course, we do all of that. But our training is based in the real life experience of people that actually do this on a daily basis. So we take loads of feedback around what's changing in the marketplace, whether that be product, practice, standards. We take loads of feedback on our training to make sure that it's accessible. And I'll just talk about accessible for a minute. We don't think that selling training is a great metric in and of itself. What we're trying to achieve is make people safer. And it's really easy just to churn out training like it's a sausage and just keep churning it out. And our people are buying it, so it must be good. If we are not making people safer, then our training is failing. And it's through that prism that we always look at the training. We take feedback from every student that comes to us. And it's fair to say that we sometimes find things that a student points out to us that we wouldn't have looked at. We've got a comprehensive quality management system that we go through ourselves, but I kind of think if you're not willing to act on feedback, then why would you take feedback? So we're really proud of the training that we develop because it's demand led. And what I mean by demand led is we've got experts that work for us at LEEA, but I've got 1,300 experts outside of the association who are my members, and they're the real experts. They're the day-to-day experts that make sure that what we produce and what we deliver is right now perfect for the industry that we're working with. Our training changes, it gets updated on an ongoing basis. If you were to do a LEEA training course today, it would be different from what you were doing 3 months ago, let alone a year ago. And so we have ongoing refresher courses, which are deliberately up to date. Once did a bit of research into the training world. And then I spoke to a lecturer who delivered the same IT course, the same computer course for 6 years. And I'm like, that's clearly going to be a problem because, it changes so quickly. And we take the same attitude towards lifting. And I think that, and this speaks to our industry. From the outside, you can look at lifting and think, it's been exactly the same since the Egyptians built the pyramids. But we know within the industry that this is a technologically advanced, software-driven, forever evolving and forever changing industry. And so, your question is, what makes our training good? It changes so that we try and stay ahead of the industry, so that we're teaching, whether it be new means of inspection, whether it be by drone or whether it be by magnetics. Our training tries to make sure that you are safe in our industry today and tomorrow, rather than half a generation ago.
Awesome. I mean, obviously you're not just handing out certificates. I mean, you've got the LEEA assessments, advanced diplomas, and what's known as the team card. For anyone who hasn't seen one, what's the significance of that card?
Yeah, so that's another great question, right? So the team card started off, it had its origins over here in the UK. In the UK, we operate under a process whereby to get onto various construction sites, you have to have this license to practice. There's literally this card. And so we had episodes where lifting equipment examiners were struggling to get onto construction sites because they didn't have the relevant documentation. They had the relevant skills, but they just didn't have the relevant documentation. So we partnered with the trade body in the construction sector and said, look, you've got a gap and we can fill it for you. So what happened in the UK was that if you go through at least 2 pieces of training as an inspector, so the foundation, which teaches you all the stuff that you need to know, it's called the foundation for a reason. And then you do a diploma level, and the diploma level is unashamedly difficult. We run various diploma courses which teach you how to inspect relevant pieces of equipment. So it can be cranes, it can be manual lifting machines, powered lifting machines, accessories. So a foundation plus a diploma, we believe, means that you are ready and fit to go and be a singular worker, somebody that can go and take their expertise to market. If you are a LEEA member, then you can qualify for the LEEA team card. And in the UK, it's still required to get on construction sites. That's not the case globally. But what this is a physical manifestation of your expertise. And I go out and I speak to people and say, it's such an easy way to make sure that that person that's coming onto your site or onto your premises actually knows what they're talking about. And you can flip it the other way and say, how do you know that that inspector is really high skilled? And then you can take it back another step and say, why would you not want somebody who is really high skilled to be examining that equipment, which is responsible for goodness knows how many hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of movement, that if it goes wrong, it will result in goodness knows how much cost and how much inefficiency. And then this gets into what I think is an argument that's really not that difficult to make. when you speak to people, everybody in the world recognizes that it's the skills that pay the bills. Sometimes people don't want the bills that come along with the skills, but everybody wants to be working with people who are trained and are competent. It's just that there are barriers around accessing it, which means it can be expensive or it can be complicated or it can be hard to arrange. And we think that's where LEEA fits and why we fit well, because we're a not-for-profit association. We don't behave in a commercial way. I have to pay my staff and I have to pay the electricity bills, but we are not here to make money. We're here to make safety.
So when somebody walks onto a job site with a team card, what they're telling everybody there is, not only do I know my stuff, I've been tested, right? And now I meet a global standard, which is incredibly powerful.
No doubt about it. Okay, so training is really one part. The other big piece is technical support. Your team of officers is basically the industry's lifeline. What does that look like in real practice?
Yeah, perfect. So we kind of handle this in two different ways. The first way is the technical support, where most of my members will have their one-to-one. So they'll go through the audit process, and some of that is online, some of that is remotely, and some of it is face-to-face. It kind of feels a bit strange to be talking about face-to-face audits because we know that a lot of people only do remote audits. And we utilize technology as much as we possibly can. And let me just talk a little bit about the LEEA boards. I'm here as the chief officer, but I'm just the custodian of our association. The LEEA board is the representation of the representatives of the membership. We have 13 people who sit on the LEEA board. And they do not do it for their own good. They give me hours and hours of support. They listen to the members and they give me direction and they give me challenge, which means that LEEA delivers for and on behalf of its members. And they are absolutely adamant that an audit only means something if sometimes you actually go to site and look at stuff. Again, people on the call will know that when you do an audit, it means that you are awesome for a morning or an afternoon a year. And what the LEEA audit is there is to make sure that actually this good practice is common practice and it's not just an episode. So my guys will visit with you either remotely or in person every year. And they are the doctors and the nurses that will meet with you and will help you to be technically compliant. And that's just a normal part of the routine, part of being LEEA members. And if you've got challenges, you'll meet with my colleagues more often because that's where we are. We're trying to support you to progress. The other side of it is that we have a team of experts, and they're very different in their expertise and their backgrounds, but together they come together to be a real team who provide responses to frequently asked questions, and that can be a technical question, or they write guidance documents. And that's very much the case of if you've got a question and you need an immediate answer to it, how can we support you with that? And again, we're using AI to make sure that we're doing that. Let me just speak a little bit about AI. When you go on Google or ChatGPT or any other, what you're actually doing is harvesting everything that anybody has ever written about something. That does not mean it's always right. When you engage with the LEEA materials, it's gone through a significant and difficult process of being signed off. So it'll have been written by experts that we'll employ in consultation with our members. It'll have then been amended, and it only gets signed off and published when it's gone through the technical committee, which again is made up of LEEA members. And that means that we have best practice that we are happy to share. And so that's the difference between the LEEA perspective and the ChatGPT perspective. This is signed off, technically valid stuff, rather than the sort of thing that maybe somebody in a bedroom wrote when they were in just a grumpy huff about something or other. So as well as the assessors, who are all lead auditor ISO trained, who are all from the industry, we have a team who go out and research and write our documents. And just to mention the point that they're all different, we've got a guy who is maybe the standards expert globally in our industry, who's worked with us for some time. We've got a guy who was a user of lifting equipment in the Royal Navy here in the UK. We've got a guy from the crane background. He's got a long and distinguished career in cranes. We've got a guy that comes from an academic background. He's got a PhD in metal science. And we've got another guy who was a former inspector. So between them, they bring what we hope is the various skill sets. That means when LEEA produces its guidance, is academically correct, it's legal, and it's realistic in the sense of this is the way it works in the real world.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think here's what people miss most about LEEA, or don't know for that matter. You guys don't help members. You represent the industry at the highest levels. You're in the room with regulators and government standards and bodies. Why does that matter so much?
Yeah, I think you're right. And I sometimes reflect on that and think maybe I should talk a bit more about that. But going right back to it, we're a trade body. We're not running a business for profit here. We're running a business for the good of the industry, as well as supporting our members. We do believe that we're here to support the industry. And that's a real bit of strong direction from the LEEA board. It would be really easy to close LEEA down and make it only for members. But I'm sitting in the LEEA boardroom and I remember the conversation that the LEEA board had. If it was only about servicing its members, how would we actually be delivering on the organizational vision to eliminate accident, injury, and fatality? So we make sure that we look after our members, and we're always looking to be better at that. But we look after our members when we raise the tide of the whole industry. So things that we do like that in relation to that is you'll see our guidance documents. Most of them are available to everybody. My number one document in terms of downloads every month is COPSHL, which is the code of practice for the safe use of lifting equipment. Absolutely free. 1,000 downloads a month. We've recently spent significant money for us on improving the materials in there. So there's more diagrams, which make it easier to understand. There's more multimedia packages, which make it easier to understand. It's in the English language, but not all of our members speak English as a first language. So we're trying to get around that. I'd recommend a COPSHL. If you just jump on any search engine and put in COPSHL, COPSULE, you will find the sorts of things that LEEA does. And it's a nice general document. It's got, I think it's 24 chapters, so it covers 20 different bits of lifting equipment. It just shows you what we do and how we do it. And if it were going to be your first interaction with LEEA, it'd be a really good place to start. We are looking at how we can turn that into accessible training, because it's bite-sized training. And we're forever thinking here about how can we make people's behavior safer. And it kind of feels like it was an old world thing just to send out a document. And so we are looking at how we can look into Reels, how we can look into TikTok, how we can use all of these social media so that we can get in front of people in more bite size, rather than sending them a document that might take 20 or 30 minutes to read.
I think that's great. I mean, obviously in modules or modularity, I think it would get more achievement towards the end of it, right? And absorbing that information.
Absolutely. I mean, I think just, the resources, the technical library are just amazing for, the heavy equipment and lifting industry as a whole. I don't think anybody else has anything as comprehensive as what you guys have put together.
Yeah, not that we've seen,
So,
no.
I was just going to say that our HQ is in the UK, but our guidance documents are based on global best practice. You might well find that there's reference to some standards or some legislation. Sometimes there's an annex in the back of our guidance document, which means that you can look to see about specific things in your locale. But we believe that global best practice is where LEEA must fit. We're not here just to talk about UK legislation. So listeners that are elsewhere in the world, it really would recommend having a look at the LEEA library. I'm sure you'll find something that will be shareable and will make your people safer.
So Ross, community is another huge part of what LEEA does. You not only hold LiftX, which is a 2-day exhibition, but you also hold regional meetings and events. And why are all of these so important to the industry as a whole?
I think this is something that I think most association lead officers got to think about during COVID, when we were in lockdown and we couldn't travel. I know some colleagues in other associations that saw it as a really good way by which to cut out regional events, because running a regional event is sometimes complicated, sometimes difficult. It's always expensive. It seems to be more expensive now. We at LEEA believe that our events are an absolutely crucial way by which we can engage with our members. And as I said at the start, we believe it's what makes us different, that we actually get a chance to listen to members. And we do loads of online consultation. We do loads of formal feedback. But the best conversations I've ever had with members, the best feedback I've ever had, the best ideas I've ever been able to steal or borrow have happened over a glass of something at an event. And so for us, you're right, we do run our showpiece events and we're very proud of them, and they give us an opportunity to get the whole industry together. But we run as many smaller events as we possibly can. One of my directors of members is over in Taiwan next week, and then he's going down to Southeast Asia and Australia, where my regional council will be meeting out there. Consultation is so important to the LEEA model. We are not here to simply broadcast. We are here first to listen.
Nice. And of course, the famous LEEA Golf Day relationships get built on the fairway too, right? Which I promise I'll be at next year.
Yeah, I'm the wrong person to speak to because I am the world's grumpiest golfer. I think I've decided. I didn't realize that. I was born in Scotland, so I grew up playing golf in the rain, but then I've grown up in England, really. When you're playing golf with work colleagues, you try your best to hide your inner self. But yeah, it comes out too much. I didn't realize I could throw a 4-iron as far as I did at the last golf day.
Well, you've also got a huge member engagement team that's very hands-on, and they provide audits, assessments, technical advice. And how does this really benefit your members on a day-to-day basis?
Well, it's really hard to self-analyze sometimes. And so having a trusted partner, and we try to be a trusted partner, we are extremely confidential. Our information comes in, but it doesn't go to anyone else. We don't share private information. We certainly don't share information between competitors, but we really believe that we are in this nice, safe space of being in the third sector, not being a commercial organization, with a clear vision about what we're here to achieve around organizational safety. So when our guys go and visit with you, they are there to help. We don't turn up with a briefcase looking to punish you. We're there to help. And why that's really important is just thinking about our industry. Yeah, we have some big players and we have some real multinational companies, and we're grateful for them. But the vast majority of our firms in the industry, and certainly the vast majority of the firms that are LEEA members, probably aren't big enough to have their own technical departments, probably aren't big enough to do a lot of introspection, a lot of consideration about processes, about quality management consideration. So having LEEA as a helpmate that can share what best practice looks like is really of significant value, particularly to those medium-sized entities. One of the things I love so much about this industry is I don't think you've really met an entrepreneur until you've worked in our industry. These are guys who have often built up incredible businesses from nothing. And so we see ourselves as a business helpmate. We're not there to punish you or to criticize, but we can take away some of the pain on your day to day. And then on our audit, we can really help you at a more strategic level.
That's awesome. I mean, so like membership isn't just passive, right? I mean, you're actually in the trenches, holding companies accountable, helping them stay sharp and making sure end users know who's operating at the highest standard, right? And that's huge for this industry.
Yeah, you're right. And that's another thing that, I have to sort of give the LEEA board complete credit for. We are not here to grow, in terms of membership. That's not an aspiration. We're here to grow safety, and we hope that we'll get more safety because we've got more members. But the board have always been really clear that the LEEA badge, you'll see him wearing the LEEA badge, must mean something, and we're not going to devalue it by making the audit easier or making our expectations any less. Far from it. It's our job to convince the world that everybody should be operating at a higher level. And we know that you can do that and not be a LEEA member. I'm not here to criticize non-LEEA members. I'm just saying, if you want to operate at a high level, LEEA can be a partner in helping you with that. And if you're interested in joining LEEA, it'd be great. Do so on our website. My team will be in touch with you really quick. We'll try and make the process as painless as possible. However, we might not be the right club for you. We're a club based on values and based on high standards, a bit like the golf club. There's other golf clubs out there. We would hope that you would come and want to be a member, but we're not for everyone. We get that.
Yeah, I've heard it. I mean, let's look ahead a little bit together. I mean, workforce shortages, sustainability, new technology. What do you see as the biggest challenges and opportunities in our
One of the things we did this year was we ran a quite a significant research report into the state of the nation. We call it State of the Nation, but it's actually the state of the industry. And again, that's available on the LEEA website. It's actually on the bottom of all LEEA emails as well. So if you're in interaction with any LEEA staff, you'll find it. And it was really fascinating. There's two things that really leapt out. The first thing is our industry is diverse and different, and there are numerous different scopes of work and numerous different bits of equipment. And say we operate in 80 countries. So when we got all of the respondents together, the one thing that keeps managing directors awake at night is where's the next generation of the workforce going to come from? And it was startling and alarming and maybe not that surprising. We know in our industry that we're not the most glamorous bit of engineering. We know that if a young person decides that they want to go and work in engineering, they normally mean they want to go and work in Formula One or they want to work in aerospace, and they probably haven't even thought about lifting. And so that really brought home something that maybe we all knew, but it gave us a real evidence basis. And it really threw down the gauntlet for us to pick up as an association, but as an industry. What are we actually going to do to solve that problem? We are engineers. We are used to solving problems. But this feels like a problem that maybe we're waiting for somebody else to fix, whether it be schools, colleges, government, whatever. So number one is managing directors are insomniacs because they don't know where their next generation of workforce is going to come from. The second thing that was really brought out by the research was ours is an industry based on IT and based on physics and based on science. And yet there is a perception that it's still a Victorian era, heavy lifting, grease-based industry. And so what we actually have to do is make sure that we are becoming an industry that utilizes AI and gets the full benefit out of it, because that is what we are. When you think about the new people that are coming into work in our sector, loads of them will have degrees in physics or in engineering or in IT. They will be bringing solutions that we have never before seen. And so, in answer to your question, it kind of feels as if the lifting industry, and I talk about the lifting industry, so, anything to do with fighting gravity industries, it feels like we're right on the cusp of a change brought by IT developments, by AI developments, but also by the fact that we are going higher and we are going further and we are going into areas that we didn't even think that we were going to be going, whether it be looking for more sources of energy, whether it be building more buildings that are higher and more dense, or whether it be engaging with countries that maybe we've never engaged with before. And so we look at up till 2025 as the foundation years. 2026 moving forward is going to be the diploma years for our industry.
Well, Ross, thank you so much for sharing all your insights and explaining more to everybody about what LEEA is and how it's more than just a membership body, right? It's really becoming a driving force for training, safety, and standards worldwide.
Yeah, and definitely. For our listeners, if you want to dive deeper into workforce and training, check out Crane Hub Magazine, issue 9. We've got a full spotlight on the future of lifting.
So that's it for this episode of the Liftpoint. Thank you, Ross. And I'm Megan Wood.
And I'm Clint Wood, and definitely Ross, really appreciated your time today. And for all of you that, haven't really explored LEEA and what it's all about, certainly, you can find it at their website, as well as I believe the LiftX event is coming up this November. And thanks for listening. And until next time,
let's all keep lifting higher. Thank you.
That's a wrap for this episode of The Liftpoint. Tap follow and share The Liftpoint with your crew. For the stories we couldn't fit in, subscribe to our bi-weekly Booms Up Buzz e-cast at cranehubglobal.com. Got a record lift, a blue-collar hero or tech breakthrough? DM us at Crane Hub Global or email info@cranehub.net. Until next time, keep your rigging tight and your horizons high.